Well, let's get a more in-depth analysis on this topic, and for that we turn to Asaf Romirowsky. He's a fellow at the Middle East Forum. Asaf, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Asaf, Prime Minister Netanyahu, as we discussed, planning to build new settlements in the West Bank for the first time in about 25 years. Why make this move now?
Well, as your correspondent said before, I mean, you do have Netanyahu is facing internal challenges in his own party to maintain the representation he has to his the right part of the Likud party. Secondly, I mean, there's no doubt that he feels quite comfortable with the new Trump administration. You're seeing now, after the ratifying the decision of making the new ambassador to Israel, Daniel Friedman, who's also made comments in the past about that the settlements are not an obstacle. Moreover, you've seen of late Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, who's also made a strong point about the fact that this is not going to be a problem. She is looking to make sure that BDS, the boycott movement, which has made the cornerstone of their matter, also the settlement, is also something that she's going to go against, and she's very staunch advocate of those matters. And again, even recently now at the recent AIPAC policy conference, Haley, during her address to the AIPAC policy at large, made a point of saying that she's going to go against 2334, which was, again, all centered about settlements. To that end, all of this makes Netanyahu feel good that he has the backing of the United States. It's not going to be like it's been over the past 8 years, and he can make the commitment to the right wing, the more right-of-center contingency of his own party, and to stay in line with U.S.-Israeli ties at large.
Right. So if you were Netanyahu, you too would make the move. Why not? But the Trump administration hasn't really given a firm position on settlements. The president, when meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, did ask him to hold off a little. So what do you make of the fact that they're now saying, well, that happened before the new administration came into power, and really sort of greenlighting this?
Well, I think there has to be a distinction about what settlements are all about. I mean, early on, even during the campaign, Trump and Trump advisors made comments about the fact that the settlements are not going to be a problem moving forward with Israel. Their number one issue is to restore relations at large. This has been an ongoing problem, contrasting with the Obama administration, that has made this the source of all problems in the Middle East, and have made it very difficult for Israelis to move along, even within existing settlements at large when it came to demographic expansion. So, I mean, I think that all in all, the move now is a comfortable move. I mean, again, I think that they know it's going to lead to conversations going forward, but the timing of Friedman being ratified, as I said before, coming to Israel, making a point that Friedman has been a supporter of the settlements at large. So, the fact that this is...
So, Asaf, what kind of peace plan could there be that would allow Israel to keep the West Bank, or Judea and Samaria, as Israelis, or some of them, refer to it as?
Well, I mean, I think when you're looking at the larger environment, I mean, again, the map, even over the past 20-some years, really has not changed. It's been a question of the blocks of the settlements, and even today, which I think is even more visible, is you're basically looking at three entities at large. You have Gaza, you have West Bank, and you have Israel. Gaza is off the table at large. The only conversation that could potentially exist is between Fatah under Mahmoud Abbas and Israel at large. At this point, all in all, for the past few years, there has been a refusal by the Palestinian Authority to come and sit down and actually have conversations. In the meantime, there has been desires in Israel to expand demographic needs and whatnot that have forced the Israelis to continue on with their own lives until they have anybody to talk to vis-a-vis the Palestinians. To that end, even if you're looking at the existing blocks and what it would look like, you still can make an actual peace process. But I think that, one of the bigger issues is, of course, recognition. And settlements, at large, have always been a red herring in comparison and in contrast to the right of return in Palestinian refugees. I mean, those are the bigger issues that need to be resolved in the conversations, which have been a constant threat to a demographic threat and a physical threat that have been used by the Palestinian authorities and Palestinian sympathizers to say Israel refuses peace until the right of return takes place. That's a much larger issue, to my mind, that needs to be resolved than the territorial issues that could be worked out.
Okay, thank you so much for your insight, Asaf Romirowsky. Thanks for joining us.